So those are arrays. Now let's talk about objects. With arrays, we use square brackets. How do we make an object? Anybody know? By the way, this code pin is going to be shared. I'm going to put it in Slack, and it's going to be on the website. Curly brace, right. So let's say const foods equals this. And then it's a series of key value pairs, right? So in array, we have a bunch of keys. The keys are all numbers, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. So how would I get carrots out of here? Veggies. How would I get carrots? Yeah, 0 is corn, 1 is carrots, 2 is lettuce, right? So here our indices are whatever we want. They're strings. So we could say foods, dairy, colon, and then some array. Milk, cheese, veggies. We can just use that veggies variable we already have. So the keys are strings, and the values are whatever we want. They could be arrays, they could be strings, they could be numbers, they could be more objects, whatever. So this one's not an array, it's a string. What happens if I forget the comma here? I get an error. That error is unexpected identifier. You'll see this error a lot. It's profoundly unhelpful. More often than not, it means you forgot one character. It could be a comma. It could be a parenthesis. Really common error. Look on the line where it occurs, and oftentimes the problem is actually on the line above. We needed a comma after veggies. And our syntax highlighting was helping us out here too, right? Breakfast is this color. The others were purple, so we can see that that's where the problem is. To avoid forgetting commas in objects like this, I like to just put it there all the time, even if there's nothing after it. Totally legal. You can put a comma there. You can even do it inside an array. You can put a comma after the last item, even if there's not another item, which is kind of nice for not forgetting. It looks horrible when it's all in one line. When it's like this, it doesn't look so bad, and I can't tell you how many times I've gone back to add one more item to an object, forgotten that dang comma, and had to go to my browser. I forgot a dang comma. Just get in the habit of always doing it, and you do it less. Still do it, but less. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now we saw to get carrots out of veggies, I would say veggies square bracket 1. How do I get things out of foods here? How do I get pancakes? I have my foods variable. How do I get pancakes out of there? Dot breakfast. Let's say console log foods dot breakfast. Pancakes. Heck yeah. Anybody know another way? Yeah. Foods, square bracket, the string breakfast. Totally works. Remember, these are all strings. The keys are strings. We could have put quotes around them, and it would have worked exactly the same. What if we forget a quote somewhere? What are we going to get? Unexpected token, illegal. Shucks. Like unexpected identifier, this often means you forgot something. We forgot a quotation mark. So you could quote those if you wanted to. We didn't have to, because if your keys are basically written the same way you would write a variable name, without any spaces, without any dashes, that kind of stuff, then the quotes are optional. Which is one reason we camel case everything most of the time in JavaScript. Because as long as you're camel casing your keys, you never need to put the quotes around them. So what if we had a variable here, key set to the string breakfast. So we didn't know that it was called breakfast. We just knew that key held the key that we want. Now how do we get it out of there? Could we say dot key? No. That's going to look for an item with the key of the string key, right? Can't do that. So how can we do it? Yeah, square brackets, passing key. Same as if we had just typed breakfast in there. You dig? What if we wanted to log each item in there? We could use for-in, like we talked about earlier, but there's another way I want to do it. Why? Mostly because I want to tell you how to do this. That would be a perfectly fine way of doing it too. How can I get a list of all the keys that are in here? I want to somehow get the array containing the string dairy, the string veggies, and the string breakfast. There's got to be some way to get all the keys in an object. If you did all your prereqs on Code Wars, you probably stumbled across a way to do this, one way or another. How do I do that? How do I get this array out of this object? All of the keys, all of the things to the left of the colon. Yeah. Object.keys. So object.keys is a built-in function. Pass it any object. Let's try console logging that. There we go. We get the array dairy, veggies, and breakfast. What good does that do us? Let's save it to a variable. Well, we know how to loop over that, right? Using for each. So we could effectively loop over everything in that array. So let's say we wanted to, seems like not so long ago, we looped over something and said name of thing, value of thing, name of thing, value of thing. What if we wanted to spit out lines like that here? Let's loop over keys. So I could say keys.forEach. Then I pass it a function. And that function in this case is just going to console log whatever the key was, and then whatever the value of that key was inside the object. So it's going to say dairy, milk, cheese. So I need to write a function here, and we know that it's going to call this function once for each item in that keys array. And it's going to pass that key in. So I'll call it key. Name your argument whatever you want. It's going to pass something in, though. So now how could I print what I want? How could I make it console log, for example, breakfast, pancakes? Without knowing that it's called breakfast, and without knowing that the value is pancakes. How can I do that inside this function? So it was, what was it again? It was breakfast and pancakes. How do I get breakfast? Breakfast is already stored in a variable that's available to me right here. Key, right? That's what's going to be in key. So start there if you don't know how to do the whole thing. Let's just spit out key, space, something. There we go. So how do we get the value out of this object? The object is called foods. And the key is right there inside that variable key. We established earlier, if we have the key inside a variable, and we have our object, it's called foods. We know the key, or we have it in a variable, and we have the object. How do we get that value out of the object? There's two ways, right? Using a dot and using square brackets. Which one do we use here? Yeah, we can't use dot, right? So let's just say foods, square bracket, key. Et voila. So see what it does for milk, cheese, corn, carrots, lettuce. Pretty safe bet that's what you get when you do array.toString. Because we did that inside string interpolation, it's just automatically calling toString on those arrays. Cool. We'll be dealing with objects a whole lot over the next 2.5 weeks. So here's a little introduction. I'm going to paste the URL of this code pin in Slack. Questions?